Hello and welcome to my video lecture on data validation in an HTML form. So here we've got our HTML form. Um, Inside our body section there is a form. Inside the form we have some labels and some input controls. And what we're doing here, right, is I can put anything in here I want, or I can leave it blank. And when I submit, I can actually submit a blank form, and that's not what I want. I want to force people to give me their first name, last name, and email address before they can move out of this form. So I can do that simply by adding a required attribute to each of these inputs, or to whichever inputs I want required. In this case, I want all three required. So I'm going to put the required attribute on all of those. I'm going to save that. I'm going to go to my HTML page. I'm going to refresh it and reload it. And that way, when I try to submit it, you'll see this is the behavior of an HTML form in HTML5 when a required element doesn't have anything in it. Refresh that page just to make that go away. That is, for the most part, the limit that you can use for data validation in an HTML page. There are other things. The only other one that you can really use is autocomplete. You would set this to be off if you didn't want browsers to autocomplete some of these data elements. There are a lot of people save their email addresses and say, listen, every time you get to an input that's an email type, put in whatever email address I have in that I've stored. So you can set the autocomplete to off to force somebody to type in their email address or any of the other required elements. Other than that, validation-wise, those are really the main controls. The other thing we can do is we can force people to give us a pattern. So for instance, if we have somebody putting in a zip code or a phone, we can use pattern matching to make sure that they give us a pattern that we're looking for. So here I'm going to grab some examples of a zip code and a phone number, and I'm going to put this into my index.php file. I'm just going to move these over. Normally I would use labels, but for this example I'm just going to leave the example as it is. So these are inputs, and in this case I have added an attribute to those inputs that sets up a pattern. Let me just put these all across. I mean, this might be easier to read. I think it's going to be easier to read if everything is on one line, a little bit more understandable. So up until here, everything's been on one line, so I'm going to continue that here. So I've got some text I'm putting out, and I'm putting a little space next to the zip and the phone number. These are text inputs. One's name is zip, one name is phone. They're both required, as we did in the previous examples. But now here we are adding in a pattern attribute. In this case, we've got a D, which means it's a digit, so it's requiring 5 digits. Then it's going to put a dash, which is optional. And then, this whole thing is optional, so you can see from the parentheses here and the parentheses here, anything in between the parentheses are optional. So I'm either going to get 5 digits, or I'm going to get 5 digits, a dash, and 4 digits. And in here, this dash is optional. So it must be 9999, or I must have 5 digits or 5 digits followed by 4 digits. Same pattern, same type of thing is going to be done for the phone number. For the phone number here, I'm going to be looking for 3 digits, a dash, 3 digits, a dash, and then 4 digits. And then my title, so these titles are kind of what you might think of as a tooltip. And I'm going to add another break over here just to make this a little bit more visually pleasant. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to go to my web browser. I'm going to refresh my screen. If I try to hit submit, now I see that everything is required. So I'm going to start typing in data. As I start typing in data, you see that the red borders disappear. Now when I get to zip code, the red border will not disappear until I match a pattern. As soon as I match that pattern, right, the red border disappears, but as soon as I fail, so that dash is required. So now once I've put that dash in there, I have to follow it by 4 digits. Same thing with phone number. Right, that doesn't match the pattern. I'm looking for those dashes. I'm going to put those dashes in, and there we go. And then I can submit this, and I display it on my display page. So those are some techniques for doing some data validation on your HTML form. I hope you enjoyed the video lecture, and I look forward to seeing you using these on your forms.